with low temperatures of 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast to 73 inland and 68 in the higher elevation. Isolated showers and isolated thunderstorms can be expected to develop mainly over the inland areas of the country during the afternoon and night time. These shower activity at times can become very strong. The winds will blow from the east to southeast at 5 to 15 knots, so the sea state will be slight. A high tide will occur at 6:48 this morning, followed by a low at 2 p.m. Another high occurs at 8:04 p.m. and a low at 1:24 in the morning. The sun will set at 6:23 p.m. and rise at 5:17 a.m. The moon comes up at 3:17 this afternoon and set at 3:07 tomorrow morning. The outlook for Thursday and Thursday night is for similar weather conditions to continue. In the sargassum forecast, there is a medium to high chance that more sargassum mats will continue to affect our beaches during the coming days. And in the fire forecast, the risk for forest and brush fire will continue to be moderate to high. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
All right, that was the weather update by the National Meteorological Service. And again, we got some heat on our hands. I saw 100 degrees inland. Oh my goodness, guys, stay hydrated, stay indoors if you can. And of course, just try to stay cool. We need some cool air. We are expecting though some light showers, so I am hoping that it cools down the hot temperature. But yeah, that's what we can expect today as it relates to heat. But what can we expect on the show this morning? We have a packed lineup on this Wednesday morning. And of course, we're going to start things off with attorney at law Leslie Mendez to talk to us about employment labor laws.
That's our first segment. And of course, the second conversation will be a discussion on human resources and how that plays a key role in developing an organization.
In our third segment, we'll be joined by representatives from the National Drug Abuse Control Council to talk to us about the topic of we need food, not tobacco.
And finally, our last conversation will be with the Belize City Hurricanes as they prepare for, the end of the season and going into the final leg of this ongoing basketball competition that's been taking place. So yes, we'll be joined by representatives of the Belize City Hurricanes to talk about their upcoming match.
Yeah, so we have a great lineup this morning. Of course, we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we take it over to Leslie Mendez to talk about labor laws. Don't go away.
For Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
It's here! Introducing Cellular World's virtual store, providing you with an easy and reliable way to shop conveniently, anytime, anywhere. It's easy as click, chat, and shop. Simply add us to WhatsApp at 615-5141 and chat with any of our virtual shopping experts to inquire about your desired products. Place your order, arrange your payment via bank transfer, choose your preferred shipping method, and enjoy your purchase upon receipt. Start shopping at Cellular World's virtual store, and you will be entered to win cash and other prizes daily. And that's not all. Take advantage of our exclusive virtual shopping promotions, more prizes, and surprises. So don't delay. Add us to WhatsApp and start shopping virtually today. Cellular World. Low prices, more choices.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Déjame mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
Here's your chance. The stage is waiting. We're looking for talented Belizean singers for another season of KTV The Remix. KTV auditions will take place on Saturday, June 3rd and Sunday, June 11th, starting at 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Channel 5 on Coney Drive in Belize City. We're also now accepting online submissions. 2-minute videos can be emailed to producer at channel5belize.com or DM KTV Remix on Facebook. Deadline, Sunday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Come be a part of the biggest singing competition of the year. KTV The Remix, only on Channel 5.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And welcome back. We have been joined in studio this morning by attorney Leslie Mendez. She's here to discuss with us employment labor laws. Good morning.
Good morning.
Leslie.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
So this is a broad area of discussion, and I believe with the limited time that we have this morning, perhaps we should zero into specific points that we would want to raise regarding labor laws and what have you. I think for many of us, the issue of dismissal comes to mind when we think of labor laws. Oftentimes, persons are sent packing, in a manner of speaking, and then they want to find out afterwards, well, what's the redress? Where do I go from? Where do I go from here? What do I need to do? Was it fair to me? Is there any recourse that can be taken or what have you? So let's begin there. A scenario where someone loses his or her job and they feel hard done by.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think dismissal is the more most, I think, thorny area of labor law. Obviously, that's where it would become adversarial.
Yeah.
That's where the relationship, the employment relationship, might break down. Belize has actually made some advancements when it comes to the protections that workers have against being dismissed. And I think it was about 2011, in fact, there were mechanisms that were put in place and higher protections when it comes to the reasons for which you can be dismissed. In the overall legal structure in terms of termination of employment, of course the parties can agree to terminate. That's not an issue. But when you are dismissed, you can be obviously dismissed on fair grounds, which is that you can be dismissed for gross misconduct, and that's summarily dismissed. So you are not entitled to notice. In fact, you're not entitled to any of the benefits. And that, to reach that threshold, is a very high one, because obviously you're dispossessed of all of your benefits. That includes even severance. So gross misconduct, however, for the employer to be able to dismiss you in that manner, gross misconduct means that based on the circumstances, based on the nature of the employment, we could not reasonably expect the employer to continue the relationship based on the nature of the misconduct, right? So it has to be one that is completely unacceptable.
Like stealing or theft on the job,
like
or,
stealing or theft
and it
on
goes
the job.
completely against the company code and what have you.
Indeed. Or in fact, I would say also a very, very egregious act of sexual harassment, for instance. There are some forms of workplace impropriety that I think that can go as a form of misconduct, which you can then have some sort of disciplinary action, as well as some remedial mechanisms that could be set in place. But when you are talking about a serious act of sexual misconduct, then that would also be gross misconduct. So that's an area where, or that's a situation where you can be dismissed on the spot without notice, without your benefits. Then you have misconduct that does not meet the threshold of gross misconduct. For those instances, what the employer can do, and if we're talking about fairness and we're talking about maintaining a good relationship with the employee, then they can be given a notice. And in that notice, you're supposed to describe, explain to them what is the misconduct, and you can impose lesser severe sanctions than dismissal. It can be a demotion, it can be withholding bonus. There are several lesser severe forms that still are disciplinary, that is provided under the legislation, where the misconduct or where the area of discontent with the employer is one where the employee is not performing in the way that he would like, then again a notice has to be given describing what exactly is the concern, asking them to remedy it, giving them the advice as to how to remedy it. If they don't remedy it, then you can be terminated. And that is still a dismissal. Where those things, and of course, then you have dismissal with notice. And you have notice periods there that you don't really have to give the reason for, but you have to give appropriate time to the person.
When it comes to parting ways with an institution, of course there are ways that it can be carried out with dismissal, as you know, the ways that you mentioned, but you can also willingly demit office, which, you know, you'll quit. What can you be compensated? What are you allowed to be compensated for?
In terms of the employee?
Yes.
Well, that would depend on your contract.
Okay.
Because the thing with the Labor Act is that the Labor Act provides the general framework and the minimum standards that is required for in the employer and employee relationship. But you can always contract higher protections. So in that case, if the employee wants to walk away or wants to no longer work there, the employee should also be giving notice, by the way. And depending on the terms of your contract, of your employment contract, then you can see what you are entitled to in those circumstances. Yeah. But the employee also has to give notice.
You know,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm thinking about the news articles that we are constantly presenting where it comes to challenges and issues between employers and employees. And I believe since we're having this conversation, what rings out as most important is the need for the population, the working class people, to understand their labor laws and rights. So as an attorney that is familiar with these complexities and, you know, all the information, what would you be able to tell us as it relates to the main information that we should know when it comes to labor laws?
Well, the manner in which you can be dismissed and the grounds for dismissal, the types of protections that you have. So just building off a little bit about what I said now, let's say that that process is not followed, right? Because that's really where the concern comes in. Some people are dismissed in a proper way, but they feel that they have not been dismissed in a proper way because there's not good communication with the employer. And some people are in fact not dismissed properly. And what can they do? Well, if you're not giving proper notice, then what you have is a wrongful dismissal. And now I think it was in very recently, maybe 2021, that the Labor Complaints Tribunal was finally set up. And that provides a very accessible, and it's supposed to be user-friendly mechanism for employees to then launch their complaints where they feel that they have not been properly dismissed. Unfair dismissal is also one of the grounds on which you can access this tribunal for you to get your remedies. There is a lot of very user-friendly information out there as well. I will say that there are some useful pamphlets that are easily accessible online. In fact, I think that you can also call the Labor Department to explain and just get general advice. Of course, you can always get your own attorney, but there is generally some accessible information about your basic rights. Sometimes things get complex where you might need an attorney. But I think it's important for you to know, and for all employees to know, that they don't have to go to court, that they have access to the Labor Complaints Tribunal where they don't even need an attorney. They give their notice to the Labor Commissioner, and the Labor Commissioner has an obligation to then submit their matter
What is interesting
before the tribunal.
From a broader perspective is the fact that while, yes, all of this information could very well be readily accessible to the average person, but it speaks to a degree of education and a knowledge of what your rights are, what your you know, what the scenario is, so to speak. And for me, in speaking to persons who feel aggrieved by certain decisions that are taken by their employers, it's only until something happens that they try to find out, okay, well, what are my rights? Where do I go from here? Whereas perhaps from the onset, when you take on a particular job, you get into either contract or you get into job descriptions or requirements from your employer, certain things should be discussed and certain things should be set in stone from the very beginning. So that if you're in violation of any of these expectations or what have you, then you know exactly what's to come next and where you stand in respect of that.
You mean you should have a written contract where you can easily refer to it as opposed to having to search Google and call the Labor Department, right?
Exactly.
Clear terms and what have you.
I agree, and I also think that it would be good practice for employers to have written policies that are provided to the employees upon them being employed. But when it comes to that scenario that you mentioned, Isani, you have to have leverage. And people are just trying to get a job, you know.
That's true.
Yeah, and every time I have certain discussions when we come to one area of the law, we zone in this one area and we think this is the most important area and we should be proactive in knowing all of the laws in this area. And then we will have another conversation on some other X area of the law and we will think people should know this. We are putting a lot on people. We're putting a lot of expectations on people. To negotiate, you actually have to have the basics to begin with. So I think that it's good that there's some information that's accessible. I do think that the burden should be a little bit on the employers to provide that handbook, that policy. And sure, if the employee certainly has some time and is proactive, that would also be good. But you can only do so much before a job when you're just trying to be very amenable with your employer, because what you want is a job, and you don't want them to think that you're being overly difficult, and before the employee then just and I deal with this person, which is wrong, but it's hard to prove.
Is a job description or the revision of a job description something that should be mutually agreeable, or is it something where perhaps the employer halfway through the game, so to speak, decides to change the rules and say, okay, well, this is how you will play?
That's a change of your contract. So that has to be agreed upon, right? In general, I would say that if the description, if the change in the job description is not really of substance, but one just in a change of the language, but not really as to what you practically will be doing now, well, no. But when we're talking about job description and your duties, that is a fundamental change to your contract. So that should be agreed upon.
Let's get a bit more into contracts then. So there is a contractual arrangement between the employer and the employee, and that speaks to specific terms, what the expectations are, perhaps if there are certain deliverables that you should be able to achieve within a given time, and so on and so forth. We also often say that contracts in some cases do have certain loopholes or escape mechanism, so that if you feel as if though something is not fair to you or what have you, there's a way out. Speak to us about that in terms of how persons enter into contract with employers, and perhaps what safety net is there for either party to be able to fall back on should things go awry.
The safety net is the Labor Act, because you cannot contract out of your labor, of the rights that are in the Labor Act. So that's what I was trying to explain when I said the Labor Act provides the minimum. You negotiate up. You can't negotiate down, because if not, that's an illegal contract. So your safety net is the Labor Act. If there is any, maybe there's an asymmetrical right that is set up in the actual contract, such as the employee can't give notice, only the employer can give notice, or something like that, that is fundamentally unfair, as well as considering the power imbalance between the employer and the employee. Then you go back to your Labor Act and see whether the Labor Act gives you any protections.
What would be an example of a contract and I guess laboring down? As you mentioned, you were saying something as it relates to labor up and labor down. What would be an example of laboring down that would be illegal?
Based on the terms of your contract, you can't get a shorter period of notice than what is provided in the Labor Act, for example.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I mean, when I think about the Labor Act, and as Isani mentioned, we're talking about a piece of document that might not be comprehensible to everyone. And I go back to my same question that I asked you prior. To narrow things down, what would you say are the 5 main labor laws that we should know as a population, or as the working force should know?
I would say you should know the notice periods. Obviously, you should know the benefits that you're entitled to, just generally the benefits that you have. Vacation, maternity, that's a package of benefits that you have. You should know on what grounds you can be dismissed. You should know the difference between wrongful dismissal and unfair dismissal. Know that you cannot be dismissed on any discriminatory grounds. That is a way in which perhaps, going back to your previous question, you can't negotiate down. So we can't enter into a contract where the contract says that I can, in the event fire you on the basis of any discriminatory grounds. For instance, if it turns out that you are HIV positive,
okay,
you are protected because that is in fact a protected ground, an explicitly protected ground under unfair dismissal. And then your complaints mechanism, what is the process, what is the timeline? That is the Labor Complaints Tribunal, so that's what I'm referring to. I would say those are the 5 things that you should know.
You know, when I think about dismissals, there are oftentimes, you know, hidden reasons why a person would be dismissed, and often, you know, you get a letter saying your services are no longer needed. Are you able to fight that if you know that that might not be the actual reason?
That is so true. It's evidence. If you have evidence, whether circumstantial or not. So, for instance, yeah, they might not tell you, I'm dismissing you for this reason because I realize that you have HIV, or, but if the circumstances are such that you can show, proximate at least in time, that I know that you found out that I was positive on a particular day, and maybe next week, next 2 weeks, you're dismissing me for no reason whatsoever, that raises alarm. But it is very difficult sometimes.
It is, yes.
And very well-versed employers would know to keep tight-lipped about the real reasons why they are. But nonetheless, you still have that protection for unfair dismissal, right?
I'm looking at 2 things in that particular scenario. One is what we would call burden of proof. If you believe that the reason for your termination, for instance, is because your employer found out that you are HIV positive, you would have to be able to prove that in terms of being able to fight it legitimately. That's on one end. On the other end, I believe it's such a blanket statement to simply write to someone and say, well, we're writing to inform you that as of June 2nd, your services are no longer required or needed, without giving an express explanation as to why. Because you, the employee, you're left scratching your head and wondering, okay, well, what did I do or what did I not do? It leaves you in suspense as to why the employer arrived at that decision.
But unfortunately, it happens.
And unfortunately, you are allowed to do that with to some extent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can dismiss as so long as you have proper notice period. I do think that that is one of the perhaps the weaknesses in the Labor Act, meaning that you don't have to show just cause all the time. But nonetheless, where the employer has expressed some dissatisfaction, remember that you are entitled to some notice. So if it is that a legitimate concern has been raised, then you are entitled to be given that notice and either impose disciplinary action or be told specifically how it is that you can improve your job performance. And that is all set up there. But that is one of the weaknesses that we have, where so long as you don't say anything, then you can just go by notice.
Yeah.
That is tough.
Yeah.
I could only imagine a live situation where, for instance, you're employed, you have bills, you have your life, everything is hinged upon your ability to earn that income. And then in short order, you're being told, you know, you're no longer required to show up to work, and everything is left hanging in the balance. You know, the average person would walk away thinking, okay, what next? You know, I keep going back to that because it seems as if though there's no perhaps consideration as to what becomes of that situation from the employee's end. You know, and a lot of times people walk away, like I've mentioned, feeling as if though, you know, it's a one-sided thing where
they don't know what happened, right? They also walk away wondering what happened. That's why you get your notice period. The idea of the notice period is that you have that time to transition out. So during that time, you transition out of the employment, but you're also given an opportunity to look at alternatives. So the longer you're at a job, the longer your notice period is, right? But I agree with you that the experience of a lot of employees in just getting a letter, a lot of times from nowhere, is one where they are left very much wondering, and they feel like they thought that they had their life organized in a particular way, and now it's been upended.
What if it's performance-based? For instance, right, you have persons who work in the BPO sector, and they have specific targets that they must accomplish within a given period of time. And so while there may be an effort to try to achieve those objectives, if you fall short of it, they're looking at your ability or your inability to be able to meet these targets. And so your employability, so to speak, hinges on that. Is there any way to go around that, or is that something that the employee has to be able to deal with? I say that because you're given somewhat of a growth curve, where when you start a job, if it's not a probationary period, they allow you to be able to learn exactly what it is that they expect from you in a given period of time, and thereafter expect you to perform at an optimal to be able to meet those targets. But if in that period of time, you're still kind of warming up to understanding and performing at that particular level, you're being dismissed. How do you go around a situation like that?
Well, you should explore whether in the circumstances it meets the obligation and the provision under the Act that you were supposed to be given a notice that sets out, if it's performance-based, like you said, there's a provision in the Act that says that if it's about you underperforming, the employer should be giving you that notice, giving you notice that, okay, you have this, we observe this issue, this is the way in which we want you to improve it, this is the time, or very specific by when you should be able to improve it and meet it. And if you don't meet it, then they can terminate you. But the law is a bit unclear as to whether, like you said, perhaps it is that they don't say anything about your performance, and all they do is give you a notice, right?
I'm thinking about that same particular comment that I mentioned, where they'd say that your services are no longer needed, or perhaps they would add the excuse as your position is now redundant, that role is no longer needed. But 2 weeks after you have been let go, someone fills that same post that was redundant. Can you fight that case?
Yeah, they're supposed to be giving notice to the Labor Commissioner about redundancy.
Okay.
So there is a specific regime that provides for that. Of course, you can be dismissed on redundancy, but there are certain protections that ought to be applied when it comes to redundancy.
I look at the real live situation that played out in court fairly recently, where a former employee of BTB, for instance, was let go under that very same redundancy clause, only to find out that they proceeded to hire someone shortly thereafter. And after they said, okay, well, you're being made redundant because we no longer have the finances to be able to, support this particular role or function within the organization. And then you find out, wow, I get my working papers, but then they hire Leslie
a month later.
shortly after that.
They find funds.
Yeah.
So that is something that you can obviously fight. All right, well.
So going back to the fact that that's your safety, right? It's not, there are very strong protections in the Labor Act. Comparatively, sure, you can find some legal frameworks that might have a little bit more protection, such as that, the right to be given an opportunity to correct whatever deficiency you have in the performance of your job. And so for fairness, you're given that. So you're given the reasons for your dismissal or the reasons why we have an issue with you. You have a time. By right, you have a period of time by which you can correct it. And it is only after that you can be dismissed. We don't really have that. We have the option of following that. And once you choose that option, you have to give time for the employee to correct. But you also then cannot say anything, and you can just give notice, right? But we do have very strong protections, and the Labor Act, at least for now, is your safety net.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Leslie.
Thank you for having me.
We absolutely appreciate the information, and I'm hoping that some viewer online found this information impactful and useful to whatever situation they're in.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Dion Chamberlain and Victor Miranda to talk to us about HR and the role they play in the organization. Don't go away.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
You know, Bolido been playing at this country for over 70 years now. That before my even born, you know. That just goes to show how cemented Bolido is in our culture and daily life. Thankfully, government recently get back for we Bolido, for we the people. So now, a publicly owned entity, Belize Government Laboratories Limited, will have management of the Bolido. And guess what? The profits will support NHI and the official charities fund, you know. That means even more Belizeans will have access to healthcare, you know, and other support they desperately need. And that all because of this change, you know. I don't know about you, but I love the song of this. For we fun, for we profits, for we Bolido.
With so many different styles of light bulbs, sometimes it's tricky to choose the right one. Whether it's a screw-in, candelabra base, or pins, we have what you need. From lamps to ceiling fans, floodlights or chandeliers, we have bulbs available in cool white, warm white, or daylight. All you have to do is choose. Once you have chosen your bulb, the final choice is technology. LED technology is energy efficient, long-lasting, produces a high-quality light, and saves you money. Choose wisely and let Benny's be your one-stop for lights. Benny's, quality and saving.
Here's your chance. The stage is waiting. We're looking for talented Belizean singers for another season of KTV The Remix. KTV auditions will take place on Saturday, June 3rd and Sunday, June 11th, starting at 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Channel 5 on Coney Drive in Belize City. We're also now accepting online submissions. 2-minute videos can be emailed to producer@channel5belize.com or DM KTV Remix on Facebook. Deadline, Sunday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Come be a part of the biggest singing competition of the year. KTV The Remix, only on Channel 5.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Welcome back, and we're continuing the conversation along the lines of workforce. But in this segment, we're talking human resource management. We are joined by Dr. Dion Chamberlain, and she is the chairperson of the Belize Coalition of Service Providers, and Mr. Victor Miranda. He is the vice president of the Belize Association of Human Resource Professionals. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Now, when we are talking HR, you know, there's a lot of conflict when it comes to that conversation, because people might say the HR works for the company and not exactly for the people. What would you say as your response to that?
My response is that a building is just a building. Mm-hmm. Without the people who are working for you and with you, you are nothing. And I know that a lot of people like to say that HR are your most valuable assets. They're not assets because they don't depreciate. I find that human beings within your employ, they can only improve and grow and appreciate on a daily basis, especially if your company encourages personal growth, provides training, and encourages or facilitates their ability to gain other degrees or other areas of focus, and builds and grows them to a higher level. Even your work culture and your policies and processes and guidelines that you have in place is there to help grow someone. If anybody within your HR employ is static, it's because you're not leading and guiding them. In fact, HR is no longer the word anymore. It's now called people and culture. Oh. So companies don't have HR departments any longer. They're having people and culture departments, because HR is definitely not something that you don't focus on. In fact, it has to be your priority, because without people, you are nowhere. And if you start thinking differently, then obviously you're not going in the right direction.
Let me add to that as well. Sure. The innovation is a word that has been used as of recent, up to probably 10 years now, here in Belize. And innovation, when you think about innovation, where does it come from? From people. Mm-hmm. So if looking at business sense, back years ago, 70% of the business was probably a business transaction.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you are looking at brand, you are looking at image, you are looking at what, when you look at it, it boils down to what? People. So that's why people is more important now than it was 50 years ago or 30 years ago.
Yeah, so would you say then, Mr. Miranda, that the culture has changed when it comes to the perception of HR, human resource management? Because I opened by saying that there was this strong belief that human resource management is designed to make sure that the company does not fall in line with lawsuits from employees. You know, we have to cover the company's back. So perhaps is that a change then? Is that a shift where the focus is now on making sure that the employees feel that they are a part of an institution or that they belong to something and are happy there?
In fact, I believe that although you may say that it was different, it wasn't different. We have to realize that people have several components to them. There's their temperament, there's their character, and there's their personality. In my opinion, all people want to do good. So the reality is that in the past, it was a natural and a given where people would have said had better work ethic. They came to work knowing what they needed to offer, what they needed to deliver, and they delivered that at a great pace, right? And that is all HR is interested in. HR is interested in that the person is providing quality, quantity, is a pleasure to be around, and has great work ethic, and that the organizational culture supports that. What has happened is that we've had a breakdown of society from parenting, where we're expecting to have great employees when in reality we are having a pile of broken people coming into workplaces with a lot of emotional baggage, a lot of pain, systemic issues that have occurred, and then they come in there because they're not different in life and then at work and then at church. They're one person. So they come into your workplace and without guidance, without proper leadership, without understanding what the culture is of your organization, then that derails that. However, in the past, the culture was, we're going to be producing or creating or doing this particular thing, and people naturally came in because society was a lot different. HR is now working with the constraints and the issues that society is prevailing on all of us, and you all see that on the news every day in crime and in many different areas.
I just want to add on the HR professional perspective. 20, 30 years ago, HR professional was about payroll, the benefits, social security, and those things. Now, when you look at a well-rounded HR professional, he or she has to know about psychology. He or she has to know about organization. A peer counselor. It has to do a lot more with the people aspects now. And what we say in HR, and there's a nice book which talks about that, which is basically self as an instrument. When you are a HR professional, if you want your people to be on time, you be on time. If you want your people to be honest, you be honest. You know, you don't want to be that typical CEO who's nice in speaking and saying the right things, but when it comes to action and commitment, he can't or she can't deliver. So that is what HR is nowadays.
Talk and no action.
So here's my question then. Many of us believe that the human resource department is sort of like a medium or a bridge between the employee and the management, senior management of an organization. And in some instances, we're accessing the human resources manager to provide guidance in certain areas. If perhaps it's to trigger a grievance mechanism, if a decision has been taken against an employee who feels that, you know, perhaps it needs to be explained further, or they feel as if though it was unfair, the outcome of that decision or what have you. But then there are instances where the HR either remains mute on the issue or perhaps takes a clear side. How do you deal with a situation like that in terms of trying to get the satisfaction that you need as an employee?
Well, first of all, HR is not a department. HR is everybody's role and responsibility. And in today's world, the reason why I've seen even doctors in Belize are getting business degrees because they're realizing they're CEOs of companies and they need to make sure that they understand every single aspect of it. Every manager has an HR role. Every supervisor has an HR role, and every staff has an HR role in terms of reporting, because it's either commission or omission in not following rules and procedures and all of that. The HR manager is really your last or ultimate location in reference as a manager to go to. However, it should be a first or open outlet for any team member to be able to go to, because on the workplace, the most important thing is psychological safety. Yeah. I've seen many employees show up at a parking lot, for instance, and breathe deeply and wonder, should I go up? Am I in the frame of mind to go up? Can I really do this today? That is not a situation that you want to have for your team members, any at all. I don't know if you're aware of this, but most heart attacks happen on a Monday or on the first day of work, and that's psychologically, medically known throughout the world. Wow. Because employees are often fearful or afraid to go up. No, your HR manager has to be open. Subjectivity is an issue. If a HR manager is favoring anyone or has a preconceived methodology ahead of time, they're not in the right position. Yeah. Because the reality is that investigations are absolutely necessary. I have found that the most eloquent speaker is not necessarily always the truthful person. You'll find out that the person who can't bring out what is the issue is sometimes in more pain than ever. And I like that Sabrina mentioned psychologists and counselors, because we do need those in the workplace right now. Many companies have those professions on call or involved, because stress is real, and it could be health, it could be the environment, many different things. We're having a lot more psychological breakdowns in the world today, and especially in Belize. And we have to realize that our human resources requires objective treatment, objective observation, objective investigation, and objective resolutions. And again, in line with the law, we have very good laws in Belize in terms of the labor laws. And we ought to realize that they're there for a purpose. Yeah. However, one of the biggest issues that has come to me this week, which startles me, is the fact that a lot of organizations in Belize and throughout the world feel that if an employee is giving you 15, 20 hours a day, that means that they're good employees. So it blocks out someone who works their utmost best within their 8 hours, gives quality, because we are tending to favor a burnt out employee, applauding burnt out people, rather than applauding efficient, productive work that gets us to our destination.
Because we often say, work smarter, not harder. So then if you look at that concept, you're looking essentially at a qualitative approach versus a quantitative approach. The person who spends in excess of 8 hours on the job trying to get certain things done versus someone who has figured out a method that allows him or her to deliver the work in a shorter space of time, but up to standard, it should be the favorite approach. You get out early, you have other things to do, and you go on with your life.
Or a person who understands the value of family, the value of relationships, the value of physical health, the value of mental health, the value of detoxing from a day of work, and coming back to you the next day fresh, revitalized, ready to go. We have to start valuing that kind of work ethic.
But let's be honest, Ms. Chamberlain, a lot of workplaces don't value that. They value a machinery where more people are willing to give of themselves. And a lot of times we're talking people, working and overworking and not sometimes getting their overtime, or perhaps because of their position, they're not able to have overtime being paid to them, but they still get that thank you for burning out themselves. And that's just something that I want to touch on. But also what I really want to go to is, how do you reverse an organization that needs healing, an organization that has poor work ethic, an organization that, people are in the parking lot on a Monday and they don't want to go in because it's just toxic? How does HR work from the bottom up to heal that?
HR can't. And the reality is that the leader has to lead it. Culture will trump strategy any day. And I'll tell you something, the more happy, contented, psychologically safe your team members are, the better productivity you'll get, and you'll see the dollars rolled in. It's not the opposite way around. You go into any organization who is struggling to identify what their EBITDA is, or verifying how much is coming in or where the monies are coming on, and struggling on a day-to-day basis, then you will automatically see where there is a disconnect in terms of that area. Because there's nothing wrong in working hard or giving your additional, but it has to be discretionarily. Not that you go home feeling, oh my God, I feel beaten up. I work these extra hours, I sacrifice this, and I feel nothing. I feel no love for it. Because I'll be honest with you, in my work, sometimes we work 18, 20-hour days, but guess what? I love what I do. I feel that sense of pride. I feel that there's value being added there. And I feel that the company's rules, regulations, policies are supporting me, not the other way around. I understand that sometimes I will give more today, but less tomorrow. But I know that whatever I put in, I will be supported.
Yeah.
So it's not about somebody not overworking or not underworking or whatever. It's a team approach where everybody puts in their all. There's not one person dragging on and not pulling and putting in their weight. It's everybody realizing that quantity, quality, work ethic, and a pleasure to be around is our drive to getting things done, and that we realize the value and the benefit of that. But that has to come from an employee who sits back and says, what do I want? What is my vision for my growth? And then work towards that. Not only working towards organizational growth, is you being complete and whole as an individual first.
So here's a scenario, and I draw from the concept of this television series, Undercover Boss.
Yes.
Where there is often a disconnect between the head office and the person who's doing the grunt work on the ground, right?
Yeah.
To where we show up to work. Yes, there is an HR person in his or her office. The CEO sits in his or her office, and then the employees are running the treadmill, in a manner of speaking. And there's little being done to understand what the day-to-day of those individuals who are producing looks like. A situation where perhaps an individual is struggling with getting a child through school, but you as the CEO or you as the human resources manager is only seeing this person showing up to work and they're running the proverbial treadmill, and if there's an overtime opportunity, that person is hogging it up because he has an agenda to educate his child. But there is no, hey, how can we make your life easier? Perhaps we can provide some form of an assistance so that you don't have to work all of these extra hours and you're still missing out from the child being at school or the child's academic progress because you're only financing the education as opposed to being an active part of it. I draw that scenario because even in smaller companies, you still have that disconnect between the person at the top and the persons who are at the bottom or the lower rung of the ladder.
Okay, that is employee engagement. Okay? And we as leaders, we have to be engaged with our employees. The moment you don't know about one of your employees having a child, for example, you are disconnected with that employee.
Yeah.
Right? So that is where our employee engagement comes in. And I always look at a Belizean working abroad. She's an HR professional. And at her company, they are so engaged that during COVID, as soon as the employee was diagnosed with COVID, they gave them their allowance. It was 5,000 or whatever amount it was. But again, she was well aware when that person was diagnosed. Many here in Belize, employees called and said some certain things, and certain things did happen, but we were not organized as such. Right? So those are things that whereby I say HR must have a strategy. Any company must have a HR company-wide strategy. And in that strategy, engagement is supposed to be in there. So that both HR, the management, and the CEO, they all have that responsibility of remaining engaged and knowing, okay, my employee is having this situation. And we have those companies in Belize that are doing that. The moment they have a sickness in the family, they take over and they assist the family with whatever they can. They're caring environments in Belize, especially in the industry of tourism. I have found out that there is that engagement, continuous communication. The employee talks to his supervisor I'm going through a difficult time today. I cannot come to work for X, Y reason. Very confidential things that they can share with their supervisor. And of course, the supervisor channels it to HR and says this person cannot come due to personal reasons and doesn't share everything. And then the manager would say, okay, or the owner would say, okay, if he or she needs anything, please feel free to give it. You have the authority as a supervisor to give what you can give. Right? So that's where engagement, employee engagement continuous is there.
And it goes back to the point I made, the leader has to lead it. The only way that these supervisors can engage the way that Victor mentioned is because they were given the directive from the leadership, from the ownership, this is how I want you all to treat my people. These are the values, this is the culture that I'm looking for. Because the minute you tell a manager, we're exact around here. If they lose money, charge them for it. It comes out of their salary. This happens. You're not creating an environment of trust and honesty. You're creating one of fair, where every time I mess up, I pay for it. One of the biggest things a leader can do is to give their teams permission to fail. The minute I give you permission to fail, you then take that on as my focus to succeed. Because you know what? Yes, you gave me the ability. However, you weren't there to penalize me, there to whenever I made a mistake, you were there to go, all right, it didn't work out. And so you make sure you don't fail. And that's why the leader has to lead it. If HR is the leader, then that's great. But that culture has to come from the top and then trickle down, trickle sideways, go upward, and then the crucial and critical conversations need to be had when there's violation of it. Because trust me, we all come from different environments, different workplaces. We come from different homes, different backgrounds, and that's where our temperament, character, and personalities are different. And we want to impose what is status quo to us, what is comfortable for us. You know, if my mother beat me in my head all the time, screamed at me, was able to talk to me in a nasty way, I want to do that to others because you know what? Hurt people. That's what we do. So I want to be able to gain my justice in the world. I have achieved, you know. The reality is that the organization needs to set the tone. The leader has to lead it. The leader has to inspect it because what is not inspected can never be expected. And there has to be rewards for doing well and there has to be consequences for not doing well. And this is where we fall apart, where we do not ensure that the cultures we want supersede. We say what we want, we verbalize what we want, but do we expect it from our behaviors? Remember, values and missions and visions don't go anywhere unless they're implemented, executed, followed up on, and reinforced daily because we're humans and we will falter and fail from time to time.
And I can give you examples of our leaders. Jack Welch, the great CEO of General Electric, for 15 years that he was there, he delivered half-day training to all the new managers. Every 2 weeks he held this training religiously for 15 years. That's what good leadership is. You look at the CEO of Southwest, when someone was sick, he would show up at the hospital and be on the bedside.
Oh, wow.
And in Belize, we have good examples as well, where this particular resort director, when somebody is sick, she is there. You know, she's always there, and she even pays expenses for his or her employees. So you can see it is present here in Belize as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking about, as you mentioned, cultures or persons that have obviously issues outside of the workplace and they bring it in the workforce. But I'm also thinking of organizations that have those long-standing employees that are hard to break because this, you know, it's hard to change a company for better when it has been in this same culture for such a long time.
Oh, yeah.
How do you, as you know, the professionals or the experts in your own right, recommend taking that on?
It's important for us to realize that change management is a process, right? And change requires awareness. Some people are not aware that they are problems. They're like, they think it's everybody else's issue except theirs. You need to create desire. If they do not desire that change, or you don't desire, then it won't happen. You need to provide the knowledge. How can they do it? The ability to do it, and then the reinforcement. No, a lot of us want to just jump in and train people, give them knowledge. But if they're not aware, they don't have desire, you won't get to that destination. So it's important that they go through the phases. Just remember, that it takes 3 weeks to change or break a habit, 6 months to create an addiction, and 9 years to institutionalize. If I've been here doing that, whatever I've been doing for 9 years, trust me, you need to untrain me to retrain me. That's why you go to jail for rape, murder, whatever, for over 9 years. Because if I don't go for 9 years, then I come back out with that same situation. It's psychological, it's not us, right? It's the reality of it all. So organizations have to realize that you can't just, it's not like neutering a dog. We seem to think that we can just go into any organization, snip, 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 and it's all fixed.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. People took years to develop that personality and who they are and what they've become. And so we need to make sure that it's a time, it's a journey, it's not a trip, and we move to that slowly, methodically, and move with people in their time, but respect, honesty, trust, trustworthiness, leading and the leader leading it. All of this are necessary, and we have to nip things in the bud as it is occurring that is thwarting our success. But many of us like to do pieces. Let's pick the one that is sexy, the one that's easy. Let's pick the little parts. The most convenient. The painful parts that we strip away the layers of that onion and get to that core and fix it are what makes sense. But we don't like that. We don't like discomfort as human beings generally.
Yeah.
Victor laughs about it all the time within our business. He will say, you know, you're the one who can get to the nitty gritty and you can deal with it. It's not that it's easy. Trust me. After you work on peeling onions all day, your eyes burn, right? However, the onion, you can't use it if the skin is on. I don't even know one recipe that you could eat the onion skin with, right? Yeah. So you've got to understand that things are a process, but it all comes with belief. The leader has to believe, the leader has to come from a point of caring, realizing that the human resource is not a commodity. It's not that they could be replaced tomorrow and they're indispensable. I hear people say these things and it makes me cringe. Oh, you're indispensable, you could be replaced tomorrow, whatever. You want to know what? I'm unique, I'm different, you are. None of us can be replaced tomorrow in an instant. You know? And when people stop saying these things and words like you have to do, you know, these are the things that create a lack of engagement, like what Victor said.
Yeah.
We have to realize that all of you are CEOs. All of you run your lives, your homes, your bodies. Some of us don't do a great job of it, you know, we're unhealthy, we don't whatever. But the reality is that we're all, you know, and until we understand the value of human beings, and this is in our friendships or love affairs or anything, we will never achieve at becoming an evolved society, which is a requirement for people to grow and develop.
Excellently put. I mean, we are out of time, but I have to say that I really appreciated this conversation, especially coming directly after a conversation about labor laws, where we know that they are, you know, those are the harder conversations, but this is really what makes the company function. And I think it's really important. I really hope that we are able to have this conversation more often. I want to know, I think this would be my parting question. Do you guys get a lot of companies reaching out to you to try to revert or rebuild the organization to a better place?
We do get a lot of requests, but I can tell you one thing. We don't get a lot of commitment, and I'll tell you why. Many companies will pay for it to be done, but sometimes I wonder if it's a checklist. And so we've become very selective in working only with companies where we feel that we have commitment from the top. Because we find out that sometimes boards will direct that we be contacted for organizational reviews, and we go in there and you're having the resistance at all levels, whether it be management, seniors, whatever. And nothing is, and you will find resistance, and you can identify resistance, whether it's passive aggressive, whether information is not forthcoming, data doesn't come in, the meetings aren't set up on time. We have found that many companies want to be fixed. Do they expect to be done? No. And so, and that is where it becomes very sad for us as professionals who are implementing, where we have become our company, and we refuse that. We will no longer be a checklist for companies to say, because at the end of the day, our brand, our image, and what we're giving off and what we do for companies is being compromised. And we've seen that in high level, whatever, and our costs are not cheap. And so the reality is that I've found it very interesting that they're willing to outlay the financing, but not outlay the commitment and the implementation to get us there.
Yeah.
Training, organizational reviews, audits, it's a panacea unless you commit to where it is that you're going. But what I find that is amazing is that most times in companies who still do not commit, individuals do.
Yeah.
So that is where we have learned and understood that our success may not lie in a company moving or an organization moving to where it is valuable for them to be healthy, mature, psychologically safe, and have a great location. But what we have come to realize is that if we move one starfish at a time, one staff member, team member who commits to their personal growth, their psychological safety, and them achieving their goals and their visions and and living their values, that's where we will find success.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Mr. Vic, do you have any last words?
Well, I just want to thank all HR professionals in this country who are basically the backbone of any organization, and being there, as you rightly put it earlier, working towards having that balance in the workplace.
Yeah.
So I want to thank them because it is a very difficult job to do.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about tobacco. Not tobacco, but why we need food instead of tobacco. Don't go away.
Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when He shall appear, we shall be like Him. I may have a very expensive camera. It may photograph many precious moments and experiences in my life that I may never want to forget. It may win many awards for me. However, it can never photograph the change that takes place in the heart of a person who comes by faith to receive Christ as their personal Savior. One may have their picture made on the day of their confirmation or baptism, but this in no way can reveal that new person in Christ. The Bible says, It doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when He shall appear, we shall be like Him, for we shall see Him as He is. The very best thing about you is not what you are, but what you're going to be when Jesus Christ returns. Invite Christ into your life today if you have not done so already. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
Westtrac Limited is committed to working hard every day to ensure you get the right products at the most affordable price. We strive to have the greatest selection of quality, affordable, and timely products and services that will enhance your personal or corporate lives. With an extensive line of products, we'll be sure to have what you need. For even faster service, you can contact us on Facebook, WhatsApp, or by email. We look forward to seeing you come through our doors at your nearest Westtrac branch today.
Hello eCash user, the eCash app is now available in Spanish. Changing the language in your eCash app from English to Spanish is quick and easy. Let me walk you through the steps. First, open your eCash app. Enter your PIN. Tap the More icon at the bottom of your screen. Choose Security. Select Language. Tap on Spanish. Then re-enter your PIN. And that's it! Your eCash app is now in Spanish, and you can continue to enjoy your eCash digital wallet. Belize Bank's eCash app makes life easier.
Here's your chance. The stage is waiting. We're looking for talented Belizean singers for another season of KTV The Remix. KTV auditions will take place on Saturday, June 3rd and Sunday, June 11th, starting at 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at Channel 5 on Coney Drive in Belize City. We're also now accepting online submissions. 2-minute videos can be emailed to producer@channel5belize.com or DM KTV Remix on Facebook. Deadline, Sunday, June 11th at 5 p.m. Come be a part of the biggest singing competition of the year. KTV The Remix, only on Channel 5.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Welcome back, and in our third segment this morning, we are talking about why we need food and not tobacco. We are joined by Annalisa Sandcroft, the National Consultant and Surveillance of Non-Communicable Diseases at PAHO and WHO, and also Kerwick Samos. He is the Outreach Caseworker at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Good morning, guys. Good morning. All right, so why do we need food and not tobacco? Let's start it right there.
Tobacco use is a significant public health problem globally. Each year, more than 8 million people around the world die as a result of tobacco use. And in the region of the Americas, we're talking about 1 million individuals. That is a bill of $626 billion US. So why do we need food? Because food is more sustainable. Tobacco use is harmful.
You know, when we think about the topic of tobacco, we automatically think about cigarettes and e-cigarettes and whatnot. And even the pack of cigarettes says it causes cancer, you know? But it's something that we just can't run away from. That addiction is so real. There are young persons and older persons that are addicted to nicotine. What can you say as it relates to your campaign to avoid the use of tobacco as being more effective than the others?
Well, you mentioned that the label says it causes cancer. Tobacco is unique in that of the 4 risk factors, tobacco use is present in all 4 major non-communicable diseases as well as mental health. So it not only causes cancer, it also affects the respiratory system. So it causes respiratory disorders such as asthma, COPD, we're talking about diabetes, we're talking about hypertension. And if we should discuss substance use disorder, that falls under mental health. So tobacco use not only causes cancer, so the label should
have all the others.
All the others, precisely. And as far as prevention is concerned, which is the most effective method, the World Health Organization, which Belize is a part of, they're a signatory to the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. And there is a package called the Empower Package. And if this package is implemented correctly and comprehensively, you will see a significant reduction in the use and abuse of tobacco.
Yeah.
So you're embarking upon a campaign where we're saying essentially that food should naturally supersede one's need for tobacco use. But some people would argue and say, okay, with food, there's healthy food and then there's unhealthy food. So how do you stack that against tobacco usage, which is outrightly unhealthy?
We can't compare both because if we think about 8 million people dying globally and just in the region of the America 1 million, that's a significant, there's no benefit in tobacco use, really. You're talking about healthy foods versus unhealthy. People have a choice. So you can choose the apple versus the fries. Yeah. There's not a safe cigar. There isn't any comparison, really. Yeah. The choice is obvious.
Well, how do you get this message across to a public where marketing is the order of the day when it comes to a lot of the lifestyle choices that we make? When you look at tobacco consumption and you look at the number of ads out there for cigarettes, for e-cigarettes and all of these other things versus, hey, eat healthy, eat your veggies and that sort of stuff. One clearly overshadows the other, and I think perhaps that in some cases informs decision making for people who are gullible or vulnerable to that kind of marketing.
Well, we get the message out by being here today, that's one way, and continuous education, public education campaign. In addition to that, 81% of persons in the region of the Americas die each year as a result of a non-communicable disease. So of the 4 of us seated here, 3 of us will die from a non-communicable disease. And that is death. 34% of that number die prematurely. And you're talking about people's productive years between 30 and 69. So definitely when you think about the numbers, it is alarming. So we have to continue with the work of, with collaboration with the NDOC office and the Ministry of Health to put the information out there because, as you mentioned, the marketing of tobacco products is aggressive.
Yeah. Let's talk about your involvement, Kerwick, in this campaign. We need food, not tobacco.
Okay, well, every year we have World No Tobacco Day, and that's Sunday, 31st of May. And what we do at the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we try to collaborate with different entities just to try to partner and see how we could get more involved when it comes to the community aspect of it. So this year, cross districts, we had on the 26th of May, which was last week Friday, in Corozal, we had a health fair at our district office there. Today we're actually having numerous informational booths across the country. We'll have one on Albert Street right in front of our office that's located right across from SMART, right? And we'll be having PAHO there as well as us. And we'll be giving information as well as trying to see where individuals have different questions, where these questions are coming from. Because a lot of people are smoking, and like I know from experience when it comes to clients coming into the office, individuals smoke because they are trying to get away from different stressors in their lives, right? So we're trying to see how we could network with different entities and try to spread the word on the harmful use of tobacco itself, right? Although it's an uphill battle, a lot of people are actually being receptive to the information, right? So they're gravitating towards it for the most part, and especially when it comes to the young people, because we alluded to earlier, a lot of young people do smoke, right? E-cigarettes for the most part.
Because they think it's fashionable.
Yeah, they think it's fashionable, and that comes from the marketing aspect of it, right? And like you said, a lot of places do aggressive marketing when it comes to e-cigarettes and cigarettes in a whole, and when it comes to sustainable food crops and all of that, it's not something that you would see a lot of. That's something that we're working on, you know, from the Ministry of Health and Wellness's side, just to showcase just how important it is for sustainable cropping, right? Because it's something that we need to have food security. A lot of individuals you see go to school, young people are going to school hungry, right? While they have a lot of means in which we could be as a department, we could be as active as we are being and more active to try to see how we can encourage, you know, food security within our schools for the most part, right? So that's something that we're working on from our end, and we're partnering with PAHO, right? And they're very aggressive in their pursuit when it comes to this campaign, especially this year.
Has there been any research conducted to perhaps look at the number or percentage of smokers, tobacco consumers versus perhaps persons who consume alcohol? I know this is in line with World Tobacco Day and everything, but perhaps we're in a society where there's more alcohol being consumed than there is tobacco being consumed. And so maybe it's ripe to look at what message we're also sending to those persons or that population when we're comparing it against food. Is that something that would be considered?
I agree, because when it comes to the comparison between alcohol consumption and tobacco consumption, you have to think about it like this. Tobacco is considered a gateway drug, right? So in most cases, you will see individuals, if they can't get marijuana, they'll get a cigarette, right? If they can't get alcohol, they'll get a cigarette, right? So we're seeing that a lot of people that are misusing these controlled substances, they're misusing cigarettes as well, right? They're smoking cigarettes. I could say out of most of the clients that I see, you know, on a weekly and daily basis, most of them, if not all of them, do smoke cigarettes as well, right?
You know, I think of, I was checking out stuff online last night while preparing for this segment, and I realized that there are countries that actually prohibit tobacco and the sale of cigarettes in the country. There's also a cap on age limits as well. I can't remember the name of the country, but I believe it was after 2000. Any person that was born after 2008 are not prohibited to purchase cigarettes. What are your responses to that, or what is your opinion to that? Do you think that that is something that Belize should maybe pursue?
That is consistent with the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. There are 6 parts to this package, Empower. The first one being to monitor tobacco use and prevention policies. So the government, as a signatory to this convention, has a responsibility to monitor. Their second responsibility is to protect people from tobacco use. So in places where you work, your workspaces, public spaces, and public transportation spaces, there ought to be a ban on smoking in public spaces. Another responsibility that should be adhered to under this convention is offering help for persons, which is what the Ministry of Health does, offer help to persons who would like to quit. In addition to that, there should be warning labels, clear warning labels on packages.
And not the little fine print.
It should be graphic, and it should cover most, if not all, of the package. Enforcement, which is what you just spoke to, speaks to the ban on advertising, sponsorship, and promotion.
Okay.
So much so that when you walk into a store, you should not see a tobacco on display for sale. The most effective method out of the package is levy. So increase taxes on the total retail price to at least 75%. In the Americas, the sub-region of South America is actually leading, but Brazil is one of the champions. They have implemented all 6 tools. So you're talking about monitoring, you're talking about prevention, you're talking about banning. So it is possible and it is feasible. So what we need are policies and legislation, and that's where PAHO comes in, because as an agency, we offer technical support to the government in order to actualize these tools.
Okay. Wow. I mean, I'll tell you this much. I can definitely say I've walked in stores and I've seen cigarettes right on display. So we definitely have some work to do when it comes to that.
Even if you don't see it on display, on the shelf, you have flyers and posters and all of these other ads or so being, adorning the building. So even if you're walking in, you'll see a Pall Mall or a Winston or whatever it is, a flyer right there. So I'm saying that it's pervasive in a sense, where it doesn't matter where you go, it's right there. And it's difficult for you to walk in a grocery store where you're there to buy healthy food, but you're seeing more of the ads for the cigarettes and the alcohol than you would see for the apple or the freshly grown bananas or something like that.
And that's where enforcement comes in, and that's E under the package.
Yeah.
So all member states have a responsibility to enforce these packages.
Perhaps, I love that you mentioned that all member states are supposed to enforce these. Are there repercussions maybe for member states that do not? Or is that something that we need to implement to hold them accountable?
They are held accountable at the level of the World Health Organization.
Okay.
But they are more accountable to the people who they serve.
Oh.
And when you think about 81%, so that's 3 out of 4 of us who will die as a result of a non-communicable disease, you are accountable to that number.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you guys have any last words as we wrap up this segment?
Well, anybody could just come. We'll be on Albert Street, right, to be giving out information. We'll be there from 10 to about 3 o'clock today. So you guys could just come. Anybody that would like to get information and know more about it, especially the young people.
Yeah.
Right? Because I always believe that prevention is very important, especially for young people.
Prevention is better than cure.
Yeah, right. So it's very important. So they could come. We'll have some giveaways to be giving out. We also have information as well.
Yeah. All right. And yourself? You good?
Just to say to individuals out there to stop smoking.
Yeah.
It's harmful. It does more harm. Tobacco consumption, smoking, even secondhand smoking, affects all the organs in the body.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We absolutely appreciate it. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the Hurricanes to talk all things basketball. Don't go away.
My Social Security. Your direct online access to all your Social Security information. 360 view of all your Social Security information. Registration services, benefits, contributions, and employer services at your fingertips. Enjoy all the new features with your My Social Security account. Register with SSB. Submission of benefit claims. Submission of contribution statements. View contribution record. Enjoy all your My Social Security feature at ssbportal.org.bz. Social Security at your fingertips.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Welcome to Design Depot, home of GE Appliances. Welcome. GE Appliances are designed, manufactured, and tested for real life with long-lasting performance, which makes it a trusted brand amongst builders and homeowners. Design Depot has a wide range of GE appliances such as washers, dryers, refrigerators, ranges, microwaves, and much more. Manage your daily chores more efficiently with GE Appliances. Good things for life. Available at Design Depot, all in one place.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
And welcome back. Our final conversation this morning is with our friends from the Belize City Hurricanes. They're here with us to discuss all things basketball going into the final lap of the season. This morning we are joined by the public relations manager for the Hurricanes, none other than our good friend Terry Gordon. Good morning, Terry.
Yeah, good morning, Terry G and the M.
I see.
We're also joined by Delroy Fairweather, who's not wearing his cap as the promoter of comedy shows.
Yes.
Today. He's here as the part owner of the Belize City Hurricanes.
Yes.
Good morning,
Benny's
my friends.
Belize Hurricanes.
Get it right, Sabrina.
Yes, man. Tell me. I mean,
good.
you guys have been with us from the start, and it's getting closer to the end. Tensions are getting thicker. Talk to us.
Thank you.
What's the atmosphere like right now?
Thank you very much,
Category 5.
Yeah,
Category 5. Category 5 at Channel 5.
Yes. Talk to us. What's the atmosphere? What's the feeling like right now?
Hey, this is arguably the matchup I would have liked to see in the finals. All right, because Griga Dream Ballers to me is as big as it gets when it comes to talent. And in terms of the team that has really given us a run for the money. All right, they beat us at home, we beat them on our turf, on our home ground. All right, so it goes to show that we're like evenly matched, you know, and so we're anticipating that it's going to be a monster showdown at the Civic Center. Forget all the trash talking and all that, because we say it's going to be a nightmare for the Dream Ballers. All right, that's what we say. But Sani, forget about all the trash talking. We know at the end of the day, it's going to be a monster matchup like none other. So we're calling out. We're the sole city dwellers right now that have made it to this round. All right, the other city team did not make it, and so we encourage their fans as well to come out and show support for the city. Okay, that is what we welcome you. One big family. When we call will you outside, brother.
Yeah, you know, it's funny now that we're all singing Kumbaya when literally a week ago we were enemies. But I guess that's how it works. You know, at this point we're here to defend Belize City, the region that we're defending.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, let's remember as well that we're all from the same country. So not because Griga to come, we don't like one another.
No, man. And like I keep on saying, Isani, my neighbor Stringberry, Griga. All right, I born there, and if I really grew up there, but I was born there, and then I went back at the age I left at 10 months and then went back at 14 years.
Yeah.
All right?
Let me get this in quickly. How do we build a certain momentum where we can pack the Belize City Center insofar as this upcoming match?
Well, Isani, I could tell you the tickets have not even gone on sale as yet, and the courtside have sold out completely.
Just like that.
And speaking about tickets, what we did the last game with Dangriga, we actually experimented on assigning seat numbers to different sections. So now that worked out well.
Yeah, I heard that was a success.
So now what we're doing now, we're actually transitioning to the VIP and the court side. So literally now when you purchase your ticket, you have an actual seat number. So there won't be that confusion in terms of, we won't have the headache now with assigning those seats, because certain people would prefer a certain seat at a certain position. So but again, like I said, there's something with it transition into, and this is a part of the experience I think that a lot of people like, because, you know, for every game, we're doing something new. You know, we're trying something different. We would want to get it to the point where people could actually literally go online. We'll do that for next year. Purchase your tickets. You know, we'll have that whole thing down pat. But this is what, when people hear that, you know, Hurricanes, no matter which team we're playing, people just have this, they know that they want a game with a lot of energy, clean fun. Yeah, no man, might have a little skirmish here and there, but basketball is a contact sport, and you know, a lot of people sometimes get, maybe I might bump you a little bit too hard, but Belizeans love that kind of.
That's the entertainment for us,
Exactly.
Yes.
And I mean, even internationally, it's the same thing. People ride for their teams, people you've never even met. There are family generations of Lakers and Celtics and Miami Heat. And that's what I think, particularly for Belize, I'm appreciating, because there's a sense of ownership to the teams, and that's something that I really want to talk about just for a second, because we're looking at the NEBL and the BBL and the growth that it has made since the start, since the first season to now where we are, 2023. Talk about how much we've grown and how far you'd like to see us go. You spoke about online tickets. Let's talk about that.
For me, like I said, I am more into the development of the sport in terms of giving fans one different experience. Yes, you always have the sponsors doing all those giveaways. Those make it attractive. We're looking, like I said, from the ground, building something from the ground. Like, for example, parking, having someone with assisting you with parking, assembling the team now, that's where the management comes in. I know a lot of people are saying that, well, the teams are stacked with foreign players, but understand that these players bring some kind of level of, they would bring a different level to the game because they're exposed internationally, and these guys can actually maybe help our local players move to the next level.
And we make sure that we have enough local players as well on our team. So we have the Glency Cooper Lopez, Akeem Waters, Ian Rene, Buckley, just to name a few. All right, you could add to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, at this age where they're like your short-term
we definitely see that there is a healthy balance of local and international. But I think even talking about international, it's also important to mention that these imported players do have connections to Belize. A lot of them talk about the fact that they have family members that are Belizeans, but let's get into...
Well, actually, we only have two players who are actually American, Chris Fraser and Jamil Harris. All the others are Belizean American, and we even have an American Belizean. You understand?
Same thing.
Rice and beans or beans and rice.
Let's talk about the semifinals. How's everything going? What's the preparation like for this game? It's a big one.
Complete lockdown. You see, I can't even get out of play. I'm no coach right now. So we have to represent. Right. Me and Delroy have to represent. Complete lockdown. Because we are a very proud team, all right? We take pride in what we bring to the table or to the Civic every time we show up, all right? And so we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. You understand? So we don't just brag about it. We have to ensure at the end of the day that we deliver. And that's why, like I say, it's like a complete lockdown going on right now. So when we show up at the Civic, it's going to be a running, gunning, slamming, jamming basketball game. That is what we're expecting. And we're expecting the same. And we're expecting the same from the other team because they could bring it to it for the Giant Center, Dominique Woodson.
We are here drummers from the
Dominique
forefathers.
And if you look at the flyer, Dreaming Nightmare for Griga, you know, it's
I man, that's one thing I have to say.
Sweep.
This season at the BBL, the ads were the highlights. The ads were so
basically,
funny.
just to add to it, so we have tickets going on sale as of tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the ticket booth, tomorrow and Friday. And on Friday, EMB from 10 a.m. right throughout the whole entire game.
So tomorrow it's 10 a.m. to
I probably like 6. Well, we could iron that out because
But tickets on start 10.
Yes, 10 a.m. tomorrow. You could go at the ticket booths, and the tickets goes for, well, Terry, you could
$50 for court side. VIPs rows 2 to 4 is $25. General stays the same at 10. Kids under 12 pay 5, and high schoolers pay only 8.
All right.
All right.
Okay, let's talk sponsors. Who would you like to say thank you to?
Well, before we get into that, I just would want quickly some of the giveaways we have. Of course,
yes, please.
you know, we have Cellular World tomorrow. Every person that purchases a ticket will get a $5 coupon to be redeemed at Cellular World.
Oh, nice.
They're also doing 3 65-inch screen televisions tomorrow at the end of each quarter. So
not tomorrow, Friday.
Sorry, Friday. Yeah, so I want this game to come so quick. So you'll be a half-court shot at the end of each quarter, the first halftime and the third quarter. One person can do a half-court shot. Guys can win a 65-inch screen television.
It's a big TV.
And that's on top of the fact that Benny's is doing his $4,000 half-court shot too.
And also the first 300 persons with Benny's Hurricanes t-shirt will get a nice little rag, one big family, right?
Yeah, we have the rag to show off, if we could show off the rag right now. All right? And last thing I want to mention is the Serenian Bay raffle. It's going to be happening tomorrow, Sabrina. Tomorrow we're going to be raffling.
Friday.
Why he correct me?
Today feels like Thursday, you know. Today feels like Thursday.
So Friday, we're going to be doing the raffle, folks. So this is your last chance, okay? Get your first 5 into the game, and we're talking about, it could be the Channel 5 first 5, it could be the whatever firm you work with or family, you put together, you and 4 others come to the booth tomorrow, to the gate Friday, and you register under one name, not just one person's name. We put that in the box, and that person will get the chance to win the big prize, the Dazzler Rise, which is valued at over $4,000. It's 2 nights stay for that family of 5, or that group of 5, at Serenian Bay. It's a 5-star resort in St. Bite, St. Bite, all right? It comes with complimentary breakfast for both days. You get to set up your group on the beach front. They're going to set you up on the beach front. If you want to do a dinner out there, of course you pay for the dinner, right? Yeah. But then you get to go on the Inky's mini golf course. It's a miniature 18-hole golf course. When you finish golfing, you can stop at the bar, and we're going to give you some complimentary drinks and hors d'oeuvres, to be exact. That's what we're going to be doing. You get access to the gym as well, and your own personal private swimming pool inside this particular Seahorse Villa, all right, which is what it's called.
So you said basically these are some of the attractions.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what you get. Yes, so that's a $4,000 Serenian prize. Yeah. And that is going to finish after the first quarter. So if you come in after the first quarter, your name is not going to be in the box, all right? Yeah. So after the first quarter, we're going to put that box aside, and at the half, we're going to raffle it along with the other prizes that we're going to be doing at the half, all right?
All right.
So now you know. Spread the word to those who haven't heard. For me, please.
And our sponsors.
Yeah, thank you very much to our platinum sponsor, Benny's Home Center, as well as our other sponsors, including Travelers Liquors, Smart Belize, Saras Cabanas Used Clothing, Caribbean Sprinters and Cellular World, Resinos Imports, and Serenian Bay Resort that we just mentioned, TMT Midway Wholesale Depot, Prestige Auto Sales and Victor Foods, Belize Tourism Boards, Mahif's Wholesale, G&W Shopping Mart, Harris Imports, Triple E Imports, Car Guys and Truck Parts of Belize, Mirage Belize, Dolphin Production, Thirsty Thursdays, where the party's at after the game. All right? Hot Off the Press, Vibes Radio, Wave Radio, Creme FM and Channel 7, Love FM, More FM and Channel 5. Give me 5.
Right, perfect. That is, you guys have a whole community, a whole village behind you.
One big happy
Hurricane,
family.
we have everybody in at Hurricane Shelter.
Yeah,
now.
yes,
All right.
yes.
So, Griga, I want to tell you tomorrow, not tomorrow, I say today, and I want to say it again, guys, you know, this one being a really nice hype game. We welcome our veterans and sistrins from Dangriga, you know, with open arms, because they extend the same hospitality back to us. You know, and we just want to be a nice, fun game, nice, fun season, and, you know, we're going to start prep for next year, because next year it has to be bigger and better.
For one thing, Griga has the tallest and most intimidating center in the league. He's 6'11", Dominic Woodson, okay? So last time we gave him a birthday present because they showed up one day after his birthday and we whooped them. All right, so he got a birthday gift from us. And I know is they will want to consider it payback time in the playoff round when it matters most. So it's going to definitely be, you know, ruction on the Belize Civic Center Friday night.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to find out the results, and we know that whatever happens, the excitement will be there, and the support from the Belizean people will be there.
Gates open at 7, tip-off time is 9.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are out of time. So, we don't have any birthday shout-outs to give out today, but of course, if you are celebrating a birthday, we want to say happy birthday to you. If you have any questions or concerns, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. But tune in tomorrow on our Facebook page at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram for behind-the-scenes content on OYEBZ. Thank you guys so much for joining us as you opened your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a great one, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.